Full blast. Another Friday, thank God. TGIF, thank God for Friday. Welcome back, everybody. Artist Journal, August 30th, 2024, broadcasting from Berlin, Germany. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. I was just thinking to myself as I speak, once again, my first words of the day to you. I was just thinking to myself how outrageous, at least to me, this whole show is. Here I go, shouting into a microphone about a bunch of art with my, as I like to say here, duct tape, scotch tape, scissors, and duct tape here. Hilarious. Anyway, and the craziest part of all is that people actually respond to it and enjoy it. It never gets old. It never ceases to surprise me. Like I've said many a time, so many times. Last show was another example. I just kind of hit the publish button and kind of run away, and that's what I tell people. If you're interested in broadcasting, you kind of have to have that mentality of, hit the button and, head for cover and just, so all to say, it worked out, and it seems like people enjoyed it. So thank you once again for the support, and a massive happy Friday to everybody, including the incredibly talented artists out here, the people that watch this show, and just everybody who we're running into today. Let's just make sure everything's working. We had an audio problem last episode, as you saw here. Let me just fix the mic a little bit so that cord doesn't get doesn't get taken out once again. So weirdly, final preface here, kind of going a little bit back to my roots a little bit in this show. I kind of have a pretty structured curatorial program, shall we say, in terms of the order. It's naturally, organically evolved that way, and I like that. But back to my roots, I would kind of just start with different stuff sometimes. So we're going to see kind of me shaking things up a little bit with the curation. I think it's going to be a shorter show. We'll see about that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anyway, in that spirit of keeping it as brief as we can here, all our time is valuable. Let's look at this beautiful, beautiful work by The Myth, who I had the pleasure to meet less than a month ago in Buenos Aires, in a cafe in Buenos Aires on a Sunday night with Santiago translating there, and it was awesome. It was totally awesome. I should actually try and bring up that photo, but in the spirit, I'll bring it up another time. I should put that on Instagram. I mean, that's just one of those photos. I did publish it on Twitter. It got quite a response there on X. You don't often see The Myth, even with face covered in photos. So this is The Myth, who is actually, I would say, tearing it up a little bit on Super Rare. This is the fourth work on Super Rare in less than a month, in the last few weeks here. This one's gorgeous. They're all gorgeous, but this one had, they all have their own poetry, shall we say, but this one has the, when I see the red jacket here, it makes me think of an oil painting. Like, I was thinking about some of these digital painters, Rat Cloak. I was looking at some Rat Cloak works, and I was like, oh, another beautiful oil painting by Rat Cloak. And Myth is kind of in the same spirit a little bit. There are these beautiful oil paintings made out of pixels, is really kind of how they feel. And this one, you really see it, where the silence of an oil painting, of a single composition, where everything is pregnant with meaning. All of a sudden, the stillness of an oil painting, right? I mean, it has all the elements of an oil painting, except for the fact that it's not an oil painting. It's made of digital works, but you totally see the richness, the depth, the silence, I would go so far as to say, of an oil painting. So all of a sudden, everything gets supercharged with meaning. It's like, oh, he's wearing a jacket. What kind of jacket? Oh, it's a red jacket. Does that mean something? And what my favorite part of this painting is? The most surprising part of the painting is actually the end of the cigarette here. You see how bright it is? It almost looks, this end of the cigarette, I mean, it's gorgeously painted. It looks like the brightest pixels in the entire composition. It really provides, I would argue, I mean, feel free to comment on this. Other than the face, I mean, is this the focal point here? On the cigarette, the ash burning. And the title here, I'd argue, is a part of the work. It's very important because it really does change how you see the work. Paranoia, another day without touching the grass, kind of adds a melancholy tone to the work, doesn't it? And so here is what looks like the myth figure with, what is it? Is this a Louis Vuitton baseball cap? Right? And this super interesting window here, and let me just show you, because the color was quite interesting here. You see it's almost orange here, and kind of, again, we see that roughness when you go up close, but from a distance you don't see it, as is often the case with oil paintings. And here as well, you see all the detail in the grass here, and then 3 of these myth figures. Interesting colors again. It's as if this myth figure here wearing, you know, the famous lemon head mask, at least famous in this scene, one day probably famous around the world, so I dare to say, on this Friday morning. But it's almost like you see the colors here of the figure, the dark skin, maybe the black shirt, the red jacket, the yellow mask, right? Reflected, the clothing, the mask, reflected here in these figures out here, suggesting that these, you know, what you might be tempted to call homunculi, which I believe is what they were called in the beginning of Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. The homunculi here, one larger than the other, full of poetry and symbolism and meaning, although visual meaning. It's not like there's a rational explanation. I mean, you can try, you can interpret it, but sometimes it's just better to visually accept and to visually interpret and not worry about putting words on things. Actually, it's nice to receive the painting, so to speak, and not worry and just accept the visual poetry without trying to explain it with a different medium of words. And so here we are, what looks like a reflection of the figure, the paranoid figure here, looking off outside the window, the touching, you know, imagining touching grass. But maybe it's the artist spending all this time working, right? Trying to make work. You know, the artist stuck inside and just is stuck with their computers. The digital artist, this digital painter, working, you know, indoors, on a screen and needing to touch grass, as they say. And let me just show one more sensational part of this painting, which I hadn't even noticed. Look at the light of the window here reflecting on this little, for lack of a better term, I guess, windowsill or you know, little shelf here. The light and this beautifully colored kind of sunlight coming in the window, it gives you the sense of true sunlight, this color here. This almost white, this yellow white, beautiful, with a more detailed sky, as we see. And with this more detailed sky, I would argue what we're starting to see, and what I mean by that is comparing to Myth's earlier works where it's flat, we do see the difference in the software. Here we see, you know, this is made with Procreate, I think we can say with a certain degree of certainty, partly because Myth has mentioned it and confirmed it in the past, and partly just on what we see. It would be a little trickier. You could maybe approximate this with Microsoft Paint, but you'd have to do a lot more work. But we know Myth's working with Procreate, and look at back here as well. This beautiful, you know, textures, again, this painterliness, which I keep seeing and being impressed by throughout many painters in this scene, this idea of digital texture reoccurring here. And there we see finally this kind of tear of blood coming off the mask here, the lemon head with the cap on, this modern clothing, this, you know, red jacket, seemingly full of meaning here, particularly in the context of the title. So, I'm incredibly excited. You can see here, the myth. It is a matter of time before these go, and I tell you, I think this one might have just went up in price. Taking offers as well, by the way. Myth is taking offers on this work, as far as I remember the tweet. This one is only 0.2 ETH, but I think the prices actually went up, interestingly. So here is the Myth's page, and look at this. Already 447 followers. Pretty good, considering the Myth is just kind of finally, only in the last, I'd say, 3 weeks started posting paintings. I have to call these paintings on Super Rare. So this is quite a collection. And I mean, we looked at prints with Warhol the other day. I mean, there's a poetry to Myth's work that is quite unique to the Myth. And you see people like Prince, of course, Mike Tyson. I think I want to call, in my mind, a famous work on object minted on hand of Mike Tyson, I think with mushrooms, a 1 of 1 from probably 2021, and there's Warhol, really making it look easy the way he references, these famous figures. There's Warhol with the wig. We were looking at this last episode. So I find it very exciting. I'm excited for the Myth posting on Super Rare, and I'm excited for Super Rare with Myth posting these beautiful works here. I think this is very bullish. I'm getting excited about Super Rare in a way that I haven't been excited really since 2021. I'm seeing the redesign, all I would say, to put my 2 cents in it, and maybe they've already done this, but if Super Rare can get their social media where they're supporting artists like this and really, pushing out like the luxury of having a gorgeous work like this posted on your platform, celebrating these artists, because that was kind of one of the things I would argue in 2021. There was a sense they did post sometimes, but a lot of people felt like the works just never really got shared overly much by their social media. If they get their social media, I would argue, more from my perspective in order, they can do whatever they want. They have I'm sure they've figured it out. They have millions of dollars there thinking about these things. But if they were, if they really start pushing works like this, it could be an exciting time for Super Rare. So that is the Myth. That is Super Rare. That begins our Friday. And look who it is. It is Bosque Grazias at an awesome restaurant here, brunch place, as well as dinner, I think, in Berlin Mitte. Right across from Kunstwerk, from KW, which means artwork, the KW Institute for Contemporary Art, where I think Klaus Biesenbach made his name before going to LA, and now he's back in Berlin at the Neue Nationalgalerie. So there is Bosque Grazias, visiting from Argentina, from Patagonia. We had a great lunch there, and that was just a ton of fun, so big shout out to Bosque Grazias. That was awesome. Shall we look at the comments? And thank you for the support. Got a, significant, getting 10 subscribers in a show is pretty good. That happened last episode. So doing well on YouTube, interestingly, last episode. It's always unpredictable. Let's continue here. So comments on last show. GM from Neon Neo Stop Mo. GM Neo, awesome to hear from you. Takashoshi, who I met also out of Argentina. Amazing as always, Adrian. Nice to meet you last time. And congrats, Pamela Chirone, and Marietta, my friends, for the beautiful artworks. And again, me and Bosque were discussing this yesterday. I was discussing how friendly. And actually, here, because Bosque actually gave me a ton of artwork, actually, which maybe I'll bring it up right now. Trying to keep this show short. Here's also a fun Polaroid we took. This is the middle, that was the same scene. You see how Polaroid, how dark it makes the background there. Cool. And thank you for giving that to me, Bosque. But look at all these gorgeous works from Bosque Grazias, original physicals. So I almost don't want to do this too fast, but there is so much art here. I actually can't go through all of it, but I'm going to go through a lot of it. I mean, as I told Bosque yesterday, I need an apartment to hang this. Like, I need to actually buy an apartment for all the art that I've been given here. And so I guess why I was mentioning all this is, I mean, you spoil me. And there's more. There's stickers. There's a cyanotype. You guys, I mean, like, unbelievable. And so the reason I, mention all this is just another example. There's Takashoshi out of Buenos Aires supporting Pamelo Chirone, being happy for his friends. There's Marietta out of Argentina, out of Buenos Aires, supporting friends. And this is just another example of that. And finally, we were discussing this and how kind of unusually friendly. She's like, well, Argentina's basically been in crisis my entire life. And when there's kind of a constant crisis, economic crisis, people tend to look out for each other. And maybe that's why there's more of a there's kind of that more, for lack of a better term, communal kind of atmosphere, and people really helping out, true friendship in Argentina is maybe a little more prominent. I thought that was a very interesting theory. And it also, finally, it kind of stands true to military theory. Like, if you read the beginning of the Peloponnesian War, and you'll see it actually, you can read it into the news right now. Alliances are generally made between countries when there's a common enemy and there's a common threat, so it brings together people. And I was almost abstracting what Bosque was saying, and I was saying, Bosque, it's almost like military alliances being formed. People don't generally tend to come together out of nature. They're actually I would argue, kind of come apart. But it's the common fear of an external enemy that will bring people together. And maybe in this case with Argentina, it's kind of like this economic crisis that we're all facing. So we all need to we need to work together here. Just food for thought and a theory. So interesting. Kels, thank you for the comment, Takashoshi, and great to discover your work, actually, shortly before I went to Argentina, but a month before. Kels, awesome to hear from you. Great one, Adrian, and awesome start to your show that we saw in the NFT there. Static Drama, massive as always, thank you. And Ricano, awesome to hear from you. So the madness continues here. Thank you, friends. And look at this response. 12,000 already, again, for election season, or whatever, the new algorithm. This is pretty healthy. 75 retweets, 189 likes, 12 bookmarks. Thank you, everybody, for the support. Just awesome. Perfect loop. I think you hit my favorite point with, look at how much fun we're having. That was the first thing, and actually in the audio that had been cut off by the mic, I was like, this is like a new golden age, and I almost wanted to call it a new golden age, or a kind of golden age, or a golden age. And I also thought of this, look at how much fun, I was like, I can't call this show, look at how much fun we're having. It probably worked out. I think this is probably the more catchy title and the funner title. But that's hilarious. I'm glad you felt that way too. In a sense, I felt that was great. And Vinito, awesome to hear from you, and great to thank you. Welcome back from Vinito, who I also met in Argentina. Just Tinto Vino Tinto, also known as Vinito, as I put it all together here in front of the camera. So awesome to hear from you. Caseworks, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Always great to hear from you. Oyeniyi. Marietta, awesome to hear from you. Thanks, Adrian. Finally got your attention. Hilarious. Yes, you are on the radar, Marietta. And again, I just do what I can here. And the community, if anybody feels like they haven't been on the show or whatever, the community is the place to go. It's just kind of like the easy way to show your work. And also for other people to see it in the community. Tornado Rodriguez, that time of the week, awesome, Poco. I was just seeing it. Yeah, awesome. Awesome to hear from you, Tornado. And look forward. It didn't work out meeting Tornado in Buenos Aires, but I will be back hopefully sometime early next year. Static Drama. I feel like the 90s punk scene when I see this works. And so maybe, well, it kind of looks like the 90s there that looks like Lollapalooza, like first year or something. Maybe that's still how Lollapalooza is. You know what's funny about Lollapalooza? I looked at there's a poster here. I think it was in Buenos Aires. I saw Lollapalooza 2025. I didn't recognize a single band on the Lollapalooza poster. I was like, surely I'm going to know one band. I didn't recognize a single band, and I thought I was a music person. You know, I'm not obviously paying super attention these days. I kind of lost interest a little bit, to be honest, music from the last 10 years, with huge exceptions. But nevertheless. Anyways, awesome. Thank you, Static Drama. Great to hear from you. L'Inquisiteur, awesome episode. Awesome to hear from you, L'Inquisiteur. And awesome to hear from Big Love from Haiti Rocket. The wonderful, the great Haiti Rocket. Just awesome to hear from you. Such a huge fan of this guy. In my universe, Haiti is truly one of the greats of this digital art scene. And it's in a sense, as he was kind of, doesn't get the play that he sometimes, I would argue, deserves. But I think time will sort that out. Sachu the Arty, dope artwork. Cheers, Sachu, glad to hear. Lily Illo, great show as always, Adrian. Absolutely love Easy Chair. Yeah. Yuri J's opening work there. Glad to see it open the show. Such a masterpiece. I could not look away from its beauty. I actually highly recommend for people to, check this out online where you can, really zoom in. It's totally worth it, to Lily's point. Awesome to hear from you, Lily. Space Case, thank you for the comment. Kel's so good, Adrian. Thanks for sharing my piece. Love all those physicals from Argentina. It's going to take another, couple of shows. I almost, here's another one. This is Sulkian, Julian Sulkian. Look at this. 3D printed of the synths. This is spectacular. So, just thrilled with all of the gifts here. So there's another one for you. More to come. Kurt Hustle Collective, awesome to hear from you. Just love hearing from these wonderful people. Macro Matraya, Sugar Cube, Terron in Spanish, near the mouth. What a curious coincidence. So great to hear from you, Macro, and everybody. Thank you, everybody, for the support. Let's do a quick look at what's going on in the community. Chrome Void. So some works from Tumblr, from PR Guitar Man, resharing a post found on Tumblr featuring hundreds of free textures and clip art. Straight from the 2000s clip art. It was a .wmf clip art from 97. I think they work on Illustrator. Would be cool to see what artists do with it. Very interesting. And so just it looks like people were trying, this is almost like how people tried to make art back then to a certain degree, but I guess it's clip art. I don't exactly know the definition of clip art. I almost think of clippy and paper clips to a certain degree. So anyways, very interesting. Commonly used word. Tim Rinaldi, A Trip Back Home. So actually, we're going to look at this. I brought this up later in the show in this more experimental curation. So cool abstract here. This is on Tezos. And we will look at this again, this show. Macrometri Scalare. Cool work here. Another kind of abstract work with nice textures, kind of pixelated a little bit from Macrometri. Ernesto Ash, Procreate Digital Painting, Photomosh Glitch. So combining glitch and painting, interestingly. And we actually showed a work from Ernesto last episode. So more interesting work here from Ernesto. And actually this work, I loved how it looked like an 808 colors here. Those beautiful TR-808, Roland TR-808 drum machine colors, because you actually have the red, the orange, and the yellow, and then you have the white that scales, that moves across. So actually, I brought that up in the show. We'll take another look at that. Zizo, Guardian of the Galaxy. My artwork in Happy Valley Gallery of Dear Mark Kelly. So interesting. And I wonder if that's Mark Kelly, the astronaut. I think turned politician, if I'm not mistaken. Interesting. Rural Idol. Twimblr, located known as the Twimp, translation hump, the nipple or pimple, because the mound that lies at its summit is a hill situated to northeast of Risca in South Wales. So interesting details. And here's what looks like a pixel art piece of this landscape. Very interesting. You know, it'd be fun to do just actually serious landscapes, almost as a kind of documenting kind of work, as like where you actually did certain areas of the countryside with simple pixel art. Could be just an interesting way of rendering or portraying or representing the landscape. Valipocan, work in progress. So some nice physicals here. Always excited to see physicals. And works from the sketchbook. Thank you for posting, Louis JPD. I've been experimenting in Blender with importing 2D artwork images. So I think we saw this last episode. That was pretty cool too. Thrilling. Absolutely thrilling. So that is the community. So just a quick look here. It was actually Alain Survey, the X account that I follow, Art News. Art News link. The overwhelming majority of NFTs are dead, report says. Daniel Cassidy at Art News, August 29th, so just yesterday. And here we have a report published earlier this month by NFT Evening, which I have to admit I've never heard of. I heard of NFT Now. It said the markets for NFTs has been in a dramatic downturn since 2023, that 95% of them are considered dead, with the average NFT owner experiencing a 45% loss on their investment. According to NFT Evening, the research was conducted by examining more than 5,000 NFT collections. Now, they conflate, I believe, the PF. Yeah, they're talking about Pudgy Penguins here, Azuki. So, to me, there's a big difference between what I would call art, people that are trying to make kind of canvases, so to speak, and PFP collections. And they're conflating all of it just as NFTs. So I would argue, just a quick analysis here of what I've seen so far on this article, probably an oversimplification of what's going on, so probably not the best analysis. Art News. Let's continue. The criteria for determining NFT mortality rates. Yeah, it's like, they can't wait to dance on the grave of NFTs, right? Trading volume. So it's all coming to an end because their scene is, there's a great question that I feel like I discovered at the end of last show. It's like in the last few sentences, it was this kind of weird observation at the end because, of course, the contemporary art scene is it's not doing well. There's liquidity, and the overriding explanation, what I'd say the manifest content of why this is happening, is because of liquidity. And I think there is definitely something to be said for that. There's less money to go around, so this is creating a bit of a cash crunch, or at least money is looking for safer areas, right? So if you have a lot of money and you're actually using art as an investment class, then you probably want to be in a Warhol or a Picasso over some obscure contemporary artist that's doing something very experimental that some art consultant is trying to tell you to buy in New York. But I wonder, is that only part of the story, this liquidity crunch? And is that masking something else that's going on, which is people are just, as we saw with Katya Kazakina's report there's an oversupply, and maybe it's more than just a supply-demand thing. Or maybe that is at the core what it is. There's just not as much demand also for perhaps, maybe people are just kind of over it. We've had about 25, 30 years of this kind of contemporary art that's being pushed on us that we are supposed to like because we're being told that we're supposed to like it, not because we necessarily feel anything about it. I've been, most of my life, I've been going to shows like this often. I also see a lot of great shows that I really enjoy, but I'd say probably 2 out of 3 are shows that, where you're kind of like, okay, this is good because someone's telling me it's good, not because I wouldn't necessarily feel that way if I was just alone in the universe and I showed up to this and had to form an opinion. So bringing it back to this article, they're kind of feeling the stress there in the contemporary art market. I was wondering to myself, what are the art consultants doing? Right? Because their job is to find all of these undiscovered artists, but the market's not really in it for undiscovered artists that are selling for $30,000 right now. It must be hard times, in the New York art consultant market, I would imagine. Right? So anyways, Azuki, so they're conflating everything together. You won't find the word Tezos mentioned here when arguably that is where, I cover everything here. But as you see in these tabs, you see that? That's object. And you see the dominance of Tezos. It dominates as it stands right now, as far as I would argue the art, a lot of the art that's coming out that's head turning. For me personally, everybody can feel different about it. So anyways, I don't know. This is kind of like typical. This is typical fare. Weak analysis, I dare say, because it's conflating everything together, and it's basically its main examples. I mean, it's not even, as Azuki and Pudgy Penguins, and then they say, okay, NFTs are dead. So, whatever. Here's NFT Evening. I haven't even seen this. I wonder, are they related to NFT now? And I thought it's interesting, putting NFT in the title. Not sure if NFT, again, here we go, 2024 NFT. Maybe this is the report. Right, this is, and who are these people? Just finally, methodology. Collected over 5,000 NFTs from NFT Scan, including the floor price, market cap, and trading volume. Our analysis focused on two main aspects: determining if NFTs are truly dead and assessing their profitability for holders. So, does it even say which blockchains? This is pretty weak, is my actual assessment here. Let's see who this is. Welcome to NFT Evening, your go-to source for in-depth news and insights. Give me a name. Give me at least an anonymous account. This is about us. So Degens, we have something here for everyone. If you're a newbie looking to delve deeper into the NFT space, check out our guides. So, highlighting Ordinal's punks, I mean, this is the about us. Contact us. I don't see a single name here. So I don't know if this is credible. What are the editors? This is what goes through my mind. What are the editors at Art News doing? They're allowing this to be reported in their, arguably newspaper of record or news site of record for the art scene, and they're referencing basically anonymous sites with zero, with not a single name on it that at least I can find here, and they're allowing this to be published in Art News. So that is the situation out here. Let me continue. ArtNet. This is awesome and probably realer news, actually. This was sent to me by Kuro. Louis Vuitton's iconic silk scarves get an artistic makeover. It's a digital art and savoir-faire alliance for the luxury house. Art has factored into Louis Vuitton scarves for decades, and you know what we're going to find here? You see this? That is pixel art, my friends, and this is by an artist, E-Boy, that Kuro has been telling me about for over a year, which is a true pioneer of pixel art. And so Louis Vuitton is bringing on E-Boy, who I don't know too much about, only from what Kuro has educated me about, early pixel artist. And so Louis Vuitton and pixel art. So far from being dead, in fact, I mean, interestingly, especially for those, tell me what you think for those that have followed this show for a few months or even over a year, maybe two. Pixel art, I mean, I'm starting to think to myself, as well as a lot of these other genres like, AI and glitch and digital painting, but especially pixel art, is starting to feel like a genre or category that is really hard to dislodge. Like something that's really going to be hard to just kind of dismiss. There's a weird staying power. It's quite defined and unique, and it's a genre. It's a category. And now I wonder if just with time, as time works out what time does, I think it's just going to remain. I think it's just going to remain, and, over time it will be more and more appreciated, and this is just a sign. I think E-Boy had been doing pixel art, and I think it's two people, if I'm not mistaken. I think out of Germany, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember right. They've been doing this since 2002, right? Pretty early on, treating pixel art as a, art form, which now, which even for me when I started this show 2 years ago, and I look at all the pixel artworks I show, when I started, I had a lot of reservations about putting pixel art because I said to myself, is this art? Can I show this? And then I just finally was like, I just like this. So I'm going to put it in, and it was the right decision, I would argue. And yes, it is, but it's not easy. This is also sent, I believe, also sent to me by Kiro. So this is knitted pixel art. And guess who? This is presidential candidate Kamala Harris's daughter, if I remember right. That Kiro sent this to me and said, here's, look at this. So just more evidence that pixel art is really pushing through, right? It may lead the charge, so to speak, for this digital art scene, what I call the second generation of digital art, which is based more on, I would argue, aesthetics than just being able to manipulate a computer with the kind of early generative art. There's an aesthetic there. But now I think it's more based on traditional aesthetics that we might find in an oil painting, for example. Let's continue. James Bloom, if I go to it's 35 minutes. James Bloom, if I go to a gallery, I almost never read the labels. I think this is, I relate to this a lot. The strength of an artwork is to communicate complex thoughts and sensations directly. Would I say, which is similar to this, but I'd say it's visual communication. So if you need to read, I make an exception for the title. If you make the title a part of your work, I'm all, because I love titles. I used to start with the title of an artwork, but I completely agree that as far as if you have to read a page, like an A4 page of text in order to understand the work, maybe the communication could be better of the art itself. So in a sense, I'm pretty sympathetic to this. Especially when working with technology, it's trapped to rely on your viewers reading context from a description rather than the art itself. Exactly. Art is visual communication at its core, so if you need other things to support it, then perhaps the communication could be better. There's always exceptions for that. Let's continue. Whale.mocha. Either the best or the worst thing to happen to NFTs. So this is a weird phenomenon. I don't know where it's coming from. Magic Eden has released a new product. I call it pump.mint. I guess it's called Mint Terminal. Here's a simple explanation. And it sounds like, again, something we've seen with Foundation, or I guess Rodeo, and Zora, is this idea that, that this is going to be the next big thing, this idea of turning art into basically meme coins, and that we're going to want to buy editions of 10,000 or something, or like editions of 500, and that this is somehow some secondary market's going to form around it. I don't know where all of this is coming from. I don't understand it. Art, I think it's a different mentality, but maybe I'm wrong. But it's sort of like my impression, because we have a fairly free market environment, especially on object, but just generally speaking in the blockchain scene, I feel like this is all being forced from these platforms that are like, no, this is going to be the next big thing. And who knows? Maybe it will be. But my impression is the market would have taken us there on its own organically if that's where it wanted to go. Meme coins were already a part of the narrative. So if it was, if things wanted to go that way, it would have gone that way naturally. But what we're seeing is all these platforms are really trying hard to turn art into meme coins, basically, for lack of a better term. So it's pretty weird. Let's see. I mean, maybe they're onto something that I don't understand. So anyways, let's continue. El Craigo. So this got sent to me a couple of times. Artists do not need more social networks. Bored, exhausted of this, to build community. This is for influencers, YouTubers, etc. Artists do not need more social networks, even less created by the same that already own art platforms. Right. So you already have an art platform, and now you're creating a new social network. The art platform is the social network, I would argue. You see that quite clearly with Object and their notifications, right? So it's very bizarre. It's more bizarre behavior. We had Wojak on the Spaces, and I was like, what do you think of the whole Zora? It's a very interesting space, by the way. I was like, what do you think of the whole Zora rodeo, thing going on? And he had a hilarious explanation. Very matter-of-factly, he's like, I think it's all about the Series B funding. I think it's all about VCs and getting your Series B funding and getting a lot of activity on chain, and that it's just about that. And that is like, okay, You know, like, and maybe this is where this other stuff is coming from. Maybe the VCs, venture capitalists, think that, okay, this is the next big thing, so now Magic Eden has to do it because they have investors too, and, you know, so who knows? But it's kind of like, I'm back to what I was saying last episode. Are you going to take your marching orders as an artist or a collector or as a connoisseur of art, even if you're not buying or making any and you just enjoy it, from people that don't necessarily have a huge background in art and are just trying to, you know, do the next crypto, you know, thing? You know, you have to ask yourself that. So let's continue with Alcrego's interesting post here. Artists need audience, not community. I thought this was a really insightful distinction here. Community is a closed circle. There's conditions. It's almost like a cult or sect, and there is something to be said for that. People know each other, right? Audience goes much further. A big part of our audience is not even here in X. It is in the whole web, not in small rooms. Yeah, and exactly. As Wojak said in the space, you know, what is the point of being on rodeo? Pocobelli, can you tell me that? What is the point of being on rodeo? And I was like, as I said to Wojak, you're singing my song. Like, I have not connected. Artists need time, and this is another big point. Artists need time to create, to experiment, to research. A lot of time. So true. Each minute spent by an artist in managing communities, social networks, is a minute lost in creating. Think macro, not micro. What about if each side to start to focus on their job and platforms start to promote and support and help artists? As I was saying with Super Rare at the start, it's kind of the only missing part of the puzzle, and they do it, but they could do more, is what I would say. To find collectors, galleries, exhibitions, instead of using their time and money and creating another social network that will quickly become an echo chamber full of artists, but almost no collectors, galleries, and exhibition. So artists can focus on their job that is creating. What about this? Call me crazy. So I thought that was a pretty interesting, and you see here, this is like an older, a new social app. Now they're calling it something else, as we looked last episode. Interesting comment. Tengushi, what I think Object.com needs is a counteroffer mechanism. I thought this was an excellent idea. Right now with Object, if you see a work you like, you can put it on an offer, but maybe it's not enough, but there's no way to do a counteroffer. That's a great idea. I'm pretty sure OpenSea has that in their UI or user experience. So when you get an offer that doesn't quite hit the mark, you can respond with a reasonable counter. I think this would stimulate the secondary market to some extent. It would definitely be an improvement. So a nice little improvement. Haggling could be fun. I think it's quite a good idea. Stipp Pixel, just some nice physicals here. Mint, and almost like an ad. Groomium Coziness, mint starts on August 25th, and so there's some pixel art here rendered on paper. You could actually just, you know, oh, and look at this. I didn't even notice this. This is, I think, the GIF in different frames. These are the frames of the GIF. It's beautiful. I mean, you could just cut this thing up. I mean, basically, you could put this in the frame, or you put the Passepartout over this other, like the title here and everything, and you just show the work here. Super interesting. From Stipp Pixel. During the 40 days in Tokyo, I was giving away these posters. I mean, you put this on really nice paper. You can make, these are prints. If you have one, show me where you put it. During events at Knox Gallery, at Kismet House, and I was even able to bring some to Zach. In fact, yes, these are Zora. They are Zora's posts. Interestingly, so very cool. Retro Manny, who of course I follow, that is a glitch on X. When you load up 100 tabs, like I do, been testing miniature prints like crazy. Finally, getting some good results. So this looks like 3D printing, like we were seeing with Sulkian's synth over there. Earlier. So how cool is that? Can't wait to get the full-size painted models out of my biggest holders. You know, it's pretty interesting. When I saw Sulkian's work there, I'm like, I almost want to paint that thing. I am not going to, but that is the temptation. When I see this, it's like, ooh, what does that look like painted? Very interesting from Retro Manny. Murakit NFT Shampoo Club in GDL is Guadalajara, maybe in Mexico there. So as you see here, a party of some kind with Murakit on the wall. Just a huge fan of Murakit's work. Recent discovery for me. And just a couple more from RGB Montreal. There's Neurocolor, who has a huge audience. Shout out to Xerox NFT for the video and curation. So there's Neurocolor on the wall, full screen. Makes a difference. Makes a huge difference. We have a couple more here. Here is Elby. And I wasn't able to get everybody, but just taking stuff randomly as I come across it. So there's Elby. Love the TVs here. So another bullish part of this scene is how it's getting better at displaying the work. Like, this isn't, the Tez poll. This isn't NFT London, right? This is pretty impressive looking. This is not a 16:9 television. I love the repetition. Here's Francois Gamma. The power of making black your background with a projector is there's no border, right? So it kind of becomes its own entity. Another interesting kind of phenomenon. And here is Datura also. So it'd be fascinating to see Datura's work large. I'd love to see this animated. It must be incredible. So very cool there. And there's Muji. So very, very cool looking work here. Be awesome to see that. So let's run through the works here. I was so sure it was going to be a short show today. So Haiti Rocket with a stunner here, dope. And look at the text, beautifully glitched out text here. Look at the color, and of course, classic Haiti Rocket, words, the capital, the lowercase, the underscore. Pure internet from Haiti Rocket. One person got lucky enough to get it for 13 Tezos, edition of 4. Beautiful piece. Classic Haiti Rocket. Here's another classic. Real, capital E in Real, and just another super cool work by Haiti Rocket. So entering the text into this computer, into this Nintendo glitch ROM. Video game. Here's another one, Perfect Loop, who kind of a recent discovery, I think, edition of 99. Thought this was pretty cool. Different looking glitch. So, of course, we see Super Mario in all its glory, and there is this wonderful glitch of Mario. So, kind of beautiful, isn't it? So this is an edition of 99, and is it sold out, or is it 222? Yeah, and so 77 left at 2 Tezos 22 cents, $1.50. Here's Feels putting out a new work, OG of Tezos here, Overdrive. Great animated abstract artist, just awesome. Really has very loyal collectors, as far as I remember. Edition of 11, 77 Tezos. Edition of 11 sold out. Very cool artist. Doesn't mint a ton on Tezos, at least not that I've seen recently. Here is what we're looking at in LibroBlock, in the community there. So here it is up close, and again, just has those 808 colors. Can't not see that. It's beautiful. Very nice animated abstract here as well. Collect for only 0.78. I might have to pick one of those up. 47 left. Sabato putting out a few works. I'm not sure. Let me see here. I'm not sure how many of these. Okay, there are 3. We got all 3 here. Excellent. Glitchy Bara. This just came out as I was preparing the show. Edition of 33. So this was recorded in Tezos Studio, who's in Montreal, at RGB MTL. So here, a few one-of-ones. Oh, actually, sorry, this is edition of 33. These are selling for 14 Tezos each. Nice. So Sabato and Tezos collaborating here. Capybara drawn and glitched on a circuit bent, my first Sony electric sketchpad at Tezos Studio. So isn't this interesting? Again, this is why I say we're just scratching the surface here of digital art. We have so many tools. This is completely different from the 1970s, where you had very few tools. We have so many tools, and it's exponential, the possibilities, because all of these tools can basically be exported onto each other, into each other. Here you have a capybara drawn and glitched on a circuit bent my first Sony sketchpad at Tezos Studio. And so it's drawn and probably put through, so it's probably a physical that's probably been put through, a process of some kind, right? So it's glitched, whatever that means, right? So here's another one. And then you see how it gets from, you see the drawing, and then it becomes more glitched here and more kind of lower resolution here. And again, you see all of this tension and contrast between the pixels, the perfect pixels, and the glitch, the fuzziness, the imperfections of the real world. And again, it looks like an A4 or something, maybe printed out or something. And here's the final. Glitchy Bara number 3, edition of 1. Interesting edition numbers here. Let's look at the edition number of the second one too. So quite interesting and beautiful. These artists, these in the lab, right? In Tezos lab, doing their experiments. And this is an edition of 10. So pretty cool editioning there too. Only one person can have the whole series. Let's look at Zozo and gently move the mic around here. Carry that weight. I think of the Beatles and Abbey Road for a title. Let's see what Zozo is up to. So gently move the mic. Sisyphus. It is Sisyphus. I love how Zozo is taking this incredibly modern, make sure I don't hit stop on the video here, taking this incredibly modern style, experimental style really of Zozo's and applying it to Greek mythology. This could be, there's a lot of room to run here, and that sold very quickly. I considered it, but it was gone before I blinked and it was gone. 50 Tezos. So Zozo, great work here. So we shuffle up the curation a little bit, putting Renki here near the start. So a cool kind of work by Renki here. Nice textured, animated abstract. So consistent. Here is a work from Kurt Hustle Collective, KHC, and Give Your Passion Now. So a new ad with this. Passion Now. People crying.
Call 1-900-1997-900 and give your passion now.
So cool. It is such a privilege to be able to, I feel like I have an exclusive here. Who else on YouTube or online, video is showing works like this? This is I feel like, what a luxury to be able to show these works here. Give Your Passion Now. Kurt Hustle Collective, just unbelievably cool. Selling for only 5 Tezos 6 days ago. I missed it. Only an edition of 5. I love it. Martin Bruce, Rosas. I'll have to be content with just showing it online, and I can live with that. Look at Martin Bruce. I'm not sure if we looked at this work. But if we did, we can look at it again. A complicated work, a challenging work. Martin Bruce. What is this? You know what this looks like to me? This looks like a computer monitor that is being photographed and then gift, so to speak, if we can use that as a verb. Rosas, edition of 12. And look at this. Look at how, what I say to myself is, look at how sophisticated this scene is. Where an artist can put out an experimental work like this and it will be appreciated, right? Very interesting. Ah, heck there. John Zabel line and an anonymous wallet bind too, right? Pretty cool. The Club of Girls and You, this is by Psychofuturist. So I thought it was pretty rad. Psychofuturist, a pretty interesting artist. Now going in this piece, going a little bit more pixel art-esque, shall we say. Always unpredictable. Edition of 12. Sells quite well here too, at 6 Tezos each. It looks like it's sold out, actually. Nice work there. Victor RC, also known as LXTXCX. I wish I could show my 12-year-old self all the fun things I'm doing these days. And there it is. Emu Total. I didn't see a link. So just cool work here with this small Windows, playing with Windows, I guess Windows 98, Windows 90, looks like 98. Let's continue. Braun, connections.glitch. Kind of looks like a circuit board almost, this abstract. Cool circuit board colors. So another cool work by Braun. That's in Fake Whales Art Market. Connections.glitch, edition of 15, and that is selling for 10 Tezos each. So doing well over there. And here's John Provencher, who I don't know if is on the blockchain, but we see him on X pretty often. Cool. I guess we'd call him a pixel artist. Also, I think was shown at the Museum of the Moving Image right after Sabato or maybe during Sabato's show. So just interesting work here. More interesting work. Let's continue. Here's Popple, the cult-like artist here with 65,000 real followers. Popple. Xenomiku, as you can see here. So cool work here, part of this Monsters series that was started over a year and a half ago now, astonishingly. So another cool work here by Popple, almost looking like a cartoon figure in the head, and then kind of more the alien organic pixelation digital that we have here in Popple's work. Here's Vitek, someone who I think I discovered first on Instagram. So a cool kind of pixel animated abstract pixel artist, I guess we could call them. Vitek. Here's Ozio Bafardo, Minimal Abstract Lovers, GN Minimal Abstract Lovers Encounters #2 is available on Foundation. Still available. Interesting piece, isn't it? Goes from sharp to fuzzy, sharp to fuzzy. So the experimentation continues here. Very interesting. Here's Element Lee with a black and white work. Maybe that's actually got a little bit of color. Hard to say in the background there. And then here you see 3 colors just kind of dragged across with a larger square brush. Turtle House, and it looks like a turtle. It looks like a house. It's a work by Element Lee, 256 by 300 pixels. Matto Jennings, couple elos for Vivian Construction. Don't even know where this came from. I guess this is Instagram. I thought a pretty smart illustration, isn't it? So kind of where art meets illustration. Could hang well with Louis Osborne, just this kind of illustrative style. Seba Sestero, Floral Language, who I met actually also out of Buenos Aires, or Argentina, who I met in Buenos Aires. Cool work here, kind of surreal illustrations. And here we see massive flowers and a figure from behind. And again, Floral Language is the name of the work. Just minted, 0.1 ETH is the reserve. Big file, 4,500 by 5,600 pixels. Uyo66 on Zora. So maybe referring to that article, maybe that article went around a bit. NFTs are not yet, but only dead, but only evolving. I could see the word NFT eventually being gone, but the whole idea of what I would call a digital object is not going anywhere. Hard to imagine that disappearing. Buying and selling digital objects. But NFT, I think there is a stigma. There's no question, as anybody who's been in this scene knows. This is hilarious. So a gravestone, a JPEG icon, and a little bit of a Uyo66 figure, a flower, and another Uyo66, the hand coming back from the dead. Hilarious. That's on Zora. Only 125 minted so far. And so... Yes, so there you have it, Uyo66. Here we're back to Michi Asu, interestingly. I'm not sure if we looked at this one. We may have. Very fun piece. We have a few by Michi. This is an edition of 1, selling for only $4.76. Pretty good for what I'd call avant-garde digital art. Cloud-like Creature edition of 7. This is $2.50. This is still available. Cloud-like Creature, Layered Sky. Let's see this one. This is fun. Original music. Very, very cool. Edition of 1, still available for a mere $10 for this very fun, glorious work. Layered Sky, worth it for the title alone. That is Michi Asu on Object. This was brilliant. I'm excited by this. Adoration of the Magi, by Walk. This is awesome. How much is this going for? An original digital by Walk online, now at 6 Tezos. Let's look at how much time we have to pick up this work. There's 4 hours and 9 minutes left. I don't know what an English auction is, if that's different from a regular auction. Edition of 1. I thought English, maybe it's Dutch auction, where you don't know when it's going to end. It's whenever the candle goes out, right? So English auction is probably regular auction. Here's Cider. Passion Breeze. Let's see if it sold. I mean, Cider, it did. I mean, Cider, just transferred, but that's probably a sale. So Cider with another new piece, kind of looks like a landscape, but with big flowers. Interesting kind of experimental works, but it almost looks like a face. Interesting piece. Passion Breeze. Warmth comes and goes, but the desire it brings should remain until its vision comes to an end. So very poetic, and actually Cider posted here some details of this work, as you see here. So Cider up close here, as you can see, quite a process, quite beautiful textures. We're back to digital textures here. Quite beautiful. So Cider making another, at least a transfer, probably a sale there. Here is Olivera Durdovic, Bodies in the Sand, also with kind of a very textured kind of style here, almost like spray, and kind of almost expressionistic in spirit. And interesting piece here, Bodies in the Sand, edition of 8, sold on Fake Whale Art Market for 7 Tezos each, and now listed for $18.50, probably on secondary. So nice work there. So sold out on Object for Olivera Durdovic. Here's Evelyn O, who of course I follow. That is a glitch on X. And here, another interesting abstract from Evelyn O. So we were seeing these maybe a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we saw some of these, and here are more. Interesting. Digital abstract from Evelyn O. Spam Yeti. So I'm not sure, and it looks like this is a Spam Yeti. I'm not sure who this is, or maybe it's the first time I'm showing. I guess it's Spam Yeti. So interesting piece here. Kind of a humorous piece, but pretty well done. I mean, almost has a bit of a waffles kind of feel to it. Interesting work. 5 Tezos, edition of 10. And interesting for Syndrome, Ernesto Ash picking one up. Wasteman Goldminovich on Fake Whale. I went through Fake Whale's gallery, found some ones that I had missed. And here we see, interestingly, a figure here in a balaclava with the McDonald's sign at the back. Let's see this. McMatches, hilariously. Little tattoo there, some bright nail polish, and what looks like a volcano in the background. Interesting piece. Edition of 10, and 3 sold so far for Wasteman Goldminovich on Fake Whale. Here's Moda MT coming through the window. So this is a new piece, a new painting by Turo, also known as Moda MT. And here, what looks like the Turo or the Moda MT figure, beautifully painted here, coming through the window, and very nice, almost painterly, almost looks like real paint here. So interesting piece, interesting composition, right? Coming through the window. Kind of reminds you of the myth there at the beginning with this kind of window work too. At the same time, this could also be like a painting of sorts, but it does look like a window. Kind of has like a bit of a 19th century feel to it, interestingly, and they're almost a trademark butterfly there. Cool. You know what? This is a great technique to do the orange. I often use it. Like a kind of like a brown sepia underpainting. It can help just give you like that first layer, get rid of the white, paralyzing white canvas. That can just get you started. It's classic academic painting technique. Put in basically a sepia or of some kind, whether it's an orange or a brown underneath. Some people will use gray. So there's Moda MT. That's 7 Tezos edition of 10. And 6 sold so far. So get it while you can. Caesar, caught in the middle. Was this made with a smartphone? Made with a smartphone. It crashes often. That's hilarious. I remember, doing the Peloponnesian War. At the end, I actually had to get a new phone halfway through it. I went from the iPhone 6S to the iPhone 10 to finish that thing because it was just too many layers I was bringing on, too many ideas. So I can relate to that. But the phone is such an awesome tool. Pretty nice phone work, isn't it? Interesting painting. The North Safe, cool work there. And as we continue to run along here, that's Cesar. Here's Nov 1914. What is this called? Tomando el Centeno, after Kazimir Malevich, interestingly. So some different works here, almost going back to earlier series. Earlier, again, Nov 1914, insisting on challenging the viewer here. And here with more kind of wild gradients here and looking like doing a homage or a pastiche, interestingly. Edition of 1, 17 Tezos. Here's another one, Bloque Plateado, and so playing with the diptych format here. And here we see a house done with gradients, and then over on the right, almost reminds me of Martin Bruce in this kind of visual thinking. Like you would never say, I'm going to do this, and then you end up with these works. It's more just by doing things and then looking and then accepting what you have and going, okay, this is good, right? I can work with this. So we're kind of back to visual thinking here with Nov 1914, Tulip Panes 2, and with these wonderful little marks here around the tulips themselves, kind of smaller work, interestingly. From Nov 1914, edition of 2, and both sold for 9 Tezos, both going to Stanley. That's funny. A Trip Back Home, this is Tim Rinaldi. And here, I don't know if there's volume. There is no volume. I don't think. There is no volume. So cool. I guess we'd call it animated abstract video, interestingly. Like a whole sequence here. How long is this? 20-second sequence. Interesting. So we saw this posted in the community. So interesting piece. Kind of has a bit of a, start of the 20th century kind of vibe in the colors there. Ceramic Pastel Fracture, 9x12, edition of 2. That's for 12 Tezos each, and that is available on Object. Let's continue. Mumble Boy, The Trial. Kind of a different composition here. Loving it. Almost like torn paper here, but not. Wonderful masking going on here. These are great shapes. Beautiful work here from Mumble Boy. Very, very nice continuation of this series. The Trial, interesting, kind of feels like a Kafka reference, not sure. Edition of 1, still available for $9.42. Continuing on, Salawaki, Mirjam. I heard you like trouts, Mirjam.
Hey, Miriam.
It's a nice short video from Salawaki.
I heard you like trouts. Hey, Miriam. I heard you like trouts.
Kind of a wild one.
I heard you like trouts. Hey, Miriam. Hey, Miriam. Hey, Miriam. I heard you like trouts.
Kind of a wild one. It's nice to be able to show a full Salawaki work here, because usually they're about 2 minutes, and I always have to kind of run through them a little bit. So I'll just say, very cool from Salawaki. That is on Object, edition of 20, and that is going for how much? For 15 on secondary. So sold out. Sold out. Nice work. Here is Ex Mortal, Massif. And so going with almost like what looks like a 1970s type video here, but hard to say with all the glitchery. This is an edition of 13, and is this sold out? Sold out at $666, I think. So a healthy market continues. Lena Eckert, 60 seconds of light spawn. So clearly NFTs are not dead here. As you see, I see a very kind of thriving market. Here's Lena Eckert. Cool kind of, what would we call this? Like, it's an animated video is what I'd be tempted to call this. Maybe a short, 60 seconds of light spawned. And this is also in Fake Whale Market. This is an edition of 15 for 10 Tezos and already foregone. So nice work there, mixed media. Continuing on, here is Sky Goodman. And this is a one of one picked up by Unknown Collector for only 20 Tezos. So picking up a Sky Goodman one of one. And again, Sky, of course, exporting through several softwares here. CGI, AI, what else? Video Game Mythologies. Cool subtitle there. So congrats to both. And here actually is Andre Oliveira Cebola out of Sao Paulo. And the work is called Sao Paulo 2814. And this is using Runaway Gen 3. So check this out. Pretty intense. I tell you. I tell you, when I flew to Brazil and I went through Sao Paulo and I went on a plane, my transfer was through Sao Paulo at 10 p.m. Looking over the city, that was like science fiction. And that's how I describe it to people. So to see this, like, it actually really kind of strikes a chord with me, especially this part. Because I remember I have a picture. I actually have a picture of that plane from the plane, and it was mind blowing seeing Sao Paulo from the sky at night. And you see like the hills where the favelas are, pretty intense. Here is Ile as we go into some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful AI painting. Yeah, as you see here, nice flat color contrasting with the peacocks here, and these lovely peacocks, just gorgeous color here. Paycox 5, edition of 3. Here's another one. Again, same thing. Just gorgeous. By Ile. This is AI, and so very, very cool. From Ile. Here's one more. Paycox 8. And this is yellow. And interesting, yeah, and then we got some AI rating up there. So pretty cool series from Ile. Love that contrast between the flat color and the kind of volumetric peacocks and the texture. Always a great contrast. Here's Strange Thing. I feel like we may have looked at this one a while ago, but this was just recently posted. Maybe this is a different version, but just another example of how awesome Strange Thing is here. Putting together another Renaissance painting with kind of modern clothing, the pixelation, just an awesome style here, an awesome synthesis is what I want to call that. Here's Scamra with a new textured tree here. Haven't seen from Scamra for a bit, so nice to see. Nice to get an update. Interesting. And very interesting using, I believe, stable diffusion, the textual inverters, as we've long said here and read. Just interesting technique there. Tukes, more AI art where abstractions no longer signify but vibrate. Another cool AI artwork by Tukes, just something you would never make without AI, somewhere in my memory. So it kind of goes both ways. Remember I was saying with Yuri J, could AI make a Yuri J if Yuri J didn't exist? And the answer I'd argue is no. But you could also argue the other way, could Tukes make this if AI didn't exist? And I think the answer is no. So it kind of goes both ways, doesn't it? Here's another AI artwork by Tukes. Very cool. And then here is Santiago with an AI collage. So another super interesting work here. As you see up close here, all of the different textures, interesting masking, and everything. Nice background color to contrast with the color inside. And collaborating with Wojak. Santiago and Wojak putting out a few works here. So very cool here as we see a stamp. And so I wonder, AI art, collage, and digital painting. So quite the mashup here of works. And there are 3 in this series. Here's another one, Sample of Awe. This is edition of 5 for 25 Tezos. So interesting, again, kind of mashup between Santiago and Wojak, who again was just on the space. Super interesting artist, Wojak. The Annual Party of Passive Aggressive Salespeople. That sounds like a Santiago title, I would guess. So anyways, interesting collaboration there. AI art, collage, and digital painting. As we move into physical painting here, I thought it was going to be a short show today. I thought it might be 40 minutes. It's Not Gallery. Lisa Lee J. Strom. I thought this is brilliant. Really head-turning work here. Just simple but brilliant. So It's Not Gallery. So you look at this. So Lija Strom. Here we have Chat Edding. I feel like this could almost all be the same artist to a certain degree. I mean, this one's slightly different, but really brilliant color here. Brilliant subject, just an odd painting. Chad Edding, also It's Not Gallery. Here's It's Not Gallery. Du Jingze. You almost feel like the gallery is the artist here to a certain degree, because it's all kind of like, it feels like it could all be the same artist. And I think a lot of these artists are being inspired by It's Not Gallery. Machine was inspired, as far as I remember her interview, by It's Not Gallery. So here's Du Jingze. So looking like doing a Justin Bieber portrait. So almost all could look like the same artist to a certain degree, but all the same gallery posting it, interestingly. Bondozo Bandito. Home is where the landlord isn't. I thought this was a really cool artwork. Very cool contrast going on. It looks like the airbrush for the outlines, and then maybe using some heavy acrylics here or oil in just like the negative space here in the sky. Great contrast. Beautiful, beautiful work here. Look at that. Powerful. Nice background. Nice tiles in the background here too. Very nice place, wherever this is. Very, very cool. Continuing on, Kristen Hjellergy Gallery. This is new vibrant work by Melania Toma. In her first solo show, this will be in London. Too bad it's not in Berlin. Pretty interesting art. So more physicals, interesting physicals in the contemporary art scene. And here's another one posted by Poon, who is, I believe, a curator out of London. This is Alice Neal at David Zwirner, Los Angeles. So interesting. Kind of has a bit of a Van Gogh vibe to it, doesn't it? A little bit Van Gogh, a little bit David Hockney, and all Alice Neal. So interesting there. So nice portrait. Very cool. But definitely Van Gogh in the colors there. Taylor A. White, see you soon. New York City, the whole New York City. As You Weren't. So this is Taylor White. So more interesting physicals. So it's interesting. There's a lot of good art out there, I would argue. Like, this is all exciting, kind of fun, cool art. The new generation, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to be excited about. In a sense, like, yeah, like, and it's what I find with this generation, it's almost a reaction to the contemporary art, this overly what I often call this over sophisticated, overly abstract kind of art that's too conceptual. I think we're seeing a reaction not only in what I call the second generation of digital art that has kind of more of an aesthetic digital art, but we're also seeing it in the contemporary art scene, where we're seeing just more aesthetic, a return to aesthetics to a certain degree. This is pretty cool. Sold out, and it's selling, of course, because people want like beautiful work. So here's Jerry Garcia, Captain Trips, Magic Bus. And Captain Trips, I believe, was Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, and this wild, extension of Garcia's hair with his head on the bus, a younger Jerry Garcia, quite brilliant. Here's a friend of mine, Charlie Stein, I think doing a residency in New York now, just another edgy work here, has come a long way in the last few years, and here, just another edgy work, this what looks like maybe a pregnant woman, not for sure, with dressed in vinyl, with a hypodermic needle going into the vinyl. Powerful work. Very cool. Noah Verrier, my oil painting of a margarita, Doritos, and hummus. So continuing the contemporary still lifes. And here's Die with the Most Likes, Nothing Left. And beautiful textures here with the ever prolific Die with the Most Likes and this horrific sort of scene that I'm recognizing, but very painterly, nicely painted. And that's your show, my friends. Thank you for joining me again. Thank you for the support. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, take care.